From the wind-swept deserts and arid tundra of Thanalan, to the ancient primeval forests of Gridania, to the seaside cliffs of Llano Seca infused with the very soul of piracy, the more exotic locales, awash in wonder and mystery. Eorzea is a land of myriad stories and even more secrets to discover. Join me, fellow scholars, as we undertake a grand endeavor. Now, it is time for Explaining Eorzea. Currency and measurements. Eorzeans employ a system of units and measurements which serve to quantify various aspects of their daily lives. From currency to units of length and weight, familiarity with these concepts and their origins will afford you, the listener, the adventurer, and my friend heading out into the wider world, a deeper knowledge of the realm, and these references employed by its residents to describe the world and how they relate to that world around them. And thus we come to a history of coin, the precursor to the modern Gil. So when the 6th Umbral Calamity came, laying waste to the land and swallowing up once proud nations of magi and wise men, the currencies minted and circulated by these civilizations lost their value, and the economy of Eorzea returned to a primitive system of barter and trade. Now this of course comes to the material theory of value, as in, I value X commodity at a certain rate of Y butter, perhaps. Funny enough, as I was sitting in your seats listening to this overblown theory, I'm reminded of a time when a professor had me and several of my fellows, at the cost of 500 gil, go steal a sheep and some papatos. When we went to steal the sheep, the farmer's daughter... Oh, I'm sorry, I'm rambling, and that story is not appropriate for the classroom. If you're interested, though, you can see me after class, and I promise the tale is worth a chuckle. As the realm recovered and rebuilt itself after the dawn of the 6th Astral Era, the currencies of Mach and Amapur came back into limited use. Their values assigned roughly according to the worth of their component metals. Again, material theory of value. This gold coin is worth so much money because of its weight in gold. It's not an abstract concept. Not yet. And that makes sense because there was a huge calamity, and they have yet to establish national mints, or even agree on monetarily standard. As city-states and nations came to flourish, certain interests took steps to mint their own currencies, with Sharlayan and Ishgard quick to follow suit. As contact between the nation in these times was limited at best, no effort was made to introduce a universal standard, and for years, many and myriad currencies were exchanged throughout the land. And of course, in your archaeological classes, you can see examples of these currencies that are no longer used. And of course, my adventuring friends will be familiar with the tombstones of Allegan variety. There are many of them, and they tend to hold their value because they exist outside of the current economic paradigm. They are valuable not only as a collector's item, but for those scholars that can delve into their secrets, there is truly nothing more priceless. Now, this changed in the years of peace followed the Autumn War. Trade and diplomatic relations between nations flourished, and for reasons of economic convenience, voices called for a universal currency. They grew louder and louder and more cacophonous. So in the year 1477 of the 6th Astral Era, the leaders of Eorzea's 6 great city-states came together and after some debate reached the decision to mint a universal currency to be used the realm over. You're familiar with it, I'm familiar with it, the professor who paid us to get into some shenanigans is familiar with it, and that is the humble Gil. A coinage used once by the ancient Allegan Empire and reinstituted as the standard currency for all the land. On to the design of Gil. In times of Eld, coins would typically bear designs inspired by heroes, leaders, or religious imagery of the nations that minted them. Students, you've seen examples of this in your archaeological lessons at the end of the building. However, with the introduction of Gil as a universal currency, a consensus of experts, most of which according to records were Sharlayan, from all nations made the decision to adopt neutral designs, ones not rooted in traditions of any one culture or nation. This was done in the interest of avoiding needless and, might I say, unfruitful debate. To this end, the face of Nimia the Spinner was chosen to grace the 100 Gil coin. An exception to the rule can be found in the commemorative 1 Gil coins issued by grand companies for Foundation Day, which are emblazoned with the images of their leaders of the respective city-states. This is done as an exercise in patriotism and, to some degree, mild jingoism. If you have a chance to visit a Foundation Day celebration, I recommend Ul'dah above all else, as the food is delightfully spicy. At the beginning of the lecture, we had mentioned about weights and measurements, because how can we agree what something is if we don't have universal terms? The Eorzeans measure length and distance in ilms, falms, yalms, and malms. The ilm is the fundamental unit of measurement, roughly equivalent to the length of an adult Hurrian thumb, with longer falms, yalms, and malms calculated using the ilm as a base. So this says, class, that yes, you can always reduce anything to the ilm. In fact, some of your mathematics professors tend to reduce things needlessly, I'll say, but it's bad for me to speak ill of a fellow colleague. Needless to say, as the size of body parts can vary wildly from person to person, these units were somewhat imprecise in early days of their use. While this would rarely be a problem within close-knit communities, confusion quickly ensued as trade and commerce spread across the realm, as some people may have longer fingers, or shorter fingers, or what happens to the one unlucky person who is, missing a thumb? Well, that ilm is small indeed. Matters came to a head in the year 986 of the 6th Astral Era, when a pirate who had come to Limsa Lominsa to procure sailcloth from the black markets became enraged when his purchase fell short of the length for which he believed he paid. Though contradicting accounts of the incident exist, most agree that the ensuing scuffle left some 50 men dead or wounded. Imagine 50 men over an ilm of cloth, or I guess technically several ilms of cloth. Admiral Agats Rohamerslin of Limsa Lominsa took swift action, promptly arresting the pirate who had caused the ruckus and lopping his thumb clean off, declaring that henceforth it would serve as the standard measurement of the ilm throughout the land. Cast iron replicas of the buccaneer's severed digit were produced in bulk and distributed around the realm to serve as 1 im rules, and disputes over vague measurements soon became a thing of the past. While my Eorzean colleagues may be too violent for my taste most of the times, I will say they have a certain brevity of solving problems that I wish the forum would sometimes take into account. I would truly be a terrible instructor if I didn't give you the approximation tables for weights and measurements. In that spirit, here they are. For 1 ilm is approximately 1 adult Hurrian thumb, or a ripe Roland berry. 1 falm is 12 ilms, or an adult Hurrian foot, or a grown chocobo tail feather. 1 yalm is 3 fulms, a bastard sword blade, and that is not to include the hilt, handle, or pommel, or in a pinch, an adult Lalafellan male. 1 malm is 1,760 yalms. The distance an adult Elzen can run in a 10th bell, or the approximate height of O Gohamoro. As for weights, 1 ons is an adult Hurrian thumb, or the previously mentioned 100 gil coin. 1 pons is 16 onzes, a merchant's scale stone, or a block of kookaroo butter. 1 tons is 2,000 ponzes, a fully matured gobu, or 600 bottles of wine port red. That is the standard overseas shipment. That was the video on currency, weights, and measurements for Explaining Eorzea. If you enjoyed the video, or you like what I do in general, go on and click subscribe and hit that notification bell to stay up to date with everything the channel does. Additionally, I've been told I should push this more often. I stream on Twitch every Friday, Saturday, and Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with Friday and Sunday being Final Fantasy XIV days, and Saturday being a bit of a wild card stream. We open up the Discord, there's a link to it down below if you'd like to join, and we talk and play games and sometimes watch videos and do media share. It's a lovely time, and you can of course find all of that at twitch.tv/Nimicry. If you're social media inclined, we have a Twitter. It's at Nimicry. You can always follow me and at me and ask me any questions. I answer them as soon as I am able to when I see them. Finally, for those who want to go above and beyond the call of duty for support, there is the Patreon, and that's patreon.com/Nimicry. Patrons get access to videos a few days early, as well as a host of other perks, and you can support for as little as $1 a month if you are so inclined. If you do, I appreciate it, but I also understand that it can be hard for some people to do, and it is never mandatory. Finally, I enjoyed making this video. I hope you enjoyed watching it, and I can't wait to see you in the next Explaining Eorzea.